France, August 1944. A radio operator bursts through the door at 3rd Army headquarters. He's clutching a decoded message, sweat beading on his forehead. The paper in his hand is stamped top secret. It's addressed to Eisenhower. Maybe a handful of other top generals, not Patton. The signals officer stops in front of General Patton's desk. His voice shakes slightly. "Sir, this transmission ... it wasn't meant for us. You don't have clearance for this information." Patton doesn't look up. He reaches across the desk and snatches the paper from the officer's hand. His eyes scan the message once, twice, then his face changes. That smile appears, the one his staff has learned to recognize. The one that means someone is about to have a very bad day. "I didn't hear you say that," Patton says quietly. "And you didn't tell me I couldn't read this." He looks up at his operations officer standing nearby. "Get 8th Corps on the line. We move in 1 hour." The room freezes. Everyone knows what just happened. Patton just read classified orders that weren't his. Orders he had no business seeing, and now he's about to act on them. Within hours, thousands of American soldiers are moving. Tanks rolling, artillery repositioning. 3rd Army is executing a massive operation that nobody authorized. Nobody coordinated. Nobody even told Patton to do. Allied command is about to learn a hard lesson. When you give Patton information, even by accident, you've given him permission to use it. This is the story of how George Patton intercepted secret orders meant for other generals. How he acted on intelligence he wasn't supposed to have. How he launched operations that made his bosses furious but won battles that changed everything. It shows Patton's core belief: forgiveness comes easier than permission. In war, moving fast beats following rules. It also explains why Eisenhower and Bradley spent half the war trying to control Patton and the other half thanking God they couldn't. August 1944. The breakout from Normandy is working beyond anyone's wildest dreams. Patton's 3rd Army is tearing across France faster than any army in modern history. They're moving so fast the maps can't keep up. German forces are running. Not retreating in order, running in panic. But there's a massive problem brewing: logistics, coordination, control. You've got multiple armies advancing at once: American, British, Canadian, French, each one racing forward, each one needing fuel, ammunition, food. Each commander convinced his plan is the best plan. Eisenhower's headquarters, SHAF Supreme Headquarters, Allied Expeditionary Forces drowning in the chaos. They're trying to coordinate all these moving pieces while keeping everyone supplied and making sure Allied units don't accidentally shoot each other. Every general wants more supplies. Every general has ideas about where to attack next. Eisenhower has to balance all these competing demands while keeping the big strategic picture in focus. So SHAF creates operational plans at the highest level. Classified orders sent only to Army Group commanders and above. Corps and Army commanders like Patton get their orders through proper channels, filtered, controlled, need-to-know basis. From an organizational standpoint, it makes perfect sense. Too much information floating around creates confusion. Security requires limiting who knows what. Can't risk letting plans leak to the Germans. But it also means lower-level commanders don't see the full picture. They get orders to do X or Y without understanding why. Without seeing how their piece fits into the larger puzzle. Patton absolutely hated this system. He believed commanders fought better when they understood the whole plan. When they could spot opportunities and grab them without waiting for someone 500 miles away to give permission. He also suspected, correctly, that some of these operational plans were being made by staff officers who'd never heard a shot fired in anger. People making decisions based on colored pins on maps and neat timelines instead of the bloody, chaotic reality of actual combat. So Patton did what Patton always did. He found a way around the system. 3rd Army had excellent signals intelligence. They intercepted German communications all the time, routine stuff, but here's the thing. Their radio operators also picked up Allied military traffic. High-level operational orders being transmitted between SHAF and Army Group headquarters. Technically, Patton's signals people weren't supposed to decrypt or read Allied traffic not addressed to 3rd Army. That violated protocol. Possibly illegal. Patton's view: if it's on the radio, it's fair game. The incident that became legendary happened in mid-August 1944, right when the Falaise Pocket was forming. SHAF transmitted operational guidance to 12th Army Group, Bradley's command. The order outlined the plan to encircle German forces still trapped in Normandy. Which forces would advance from which directions, where they should stop to avoid friendly fire, how the trap would close. The order was encrypted, but using codes that Allied signals personnel could obviously break. It was meant to be secure from German interception, not from other Allied units. Patton's signals officers picked it up, they decrypted it. They brought it to their commanding officer, who brought it straight to Patton. The message changed everything. It revealed that other Allied forces were being ordered to halt at certain positions to avoid accidentally engaging Third Army units, which meant SHAF expected Third Army to be pushing much farther forward than Patton's current orders specified. It also revealed that Bradley was being cautious about closing the Falaise pocket too quickly, worried about coordinating with British and Canadian forces advancing from the north. Patton read this and saw it instantly, the opportunity. If he pushed his forces forward right now, aggressively, before Bradley issued formal orders, he could reach key positions days earlier. Close the pocket faster, trap more Germans, exploit the enemy's chaos while they were still confused and running. His staff officers immediately saw the problem. "Sir, we're not supposed to have this information. We can't act on orders that weren't issued to us." Patton's response was pure Patton. "What orders? I didn't receive any orders. I'm exercising tactical initiative based on the battlefield situation. If my forces happen to end up exactly where Schaeff wants them, that's good judgment, not disobedience." Classic Patton logic. Plausible deniability wrapped around aggressive action. Patton immediately started moving forces. He ordered 8th Corps to advance toward Argentan, a key town on the southern edge of where the Falaise pocket was forming. This wasn't some minor adjustment. This was committing thousands of troops and hundreds of tanks to a major movement, without authorization from Army Group headquarters. If Patton was wrong, the consequences would be catastrophic. If the intelligence was outdated, if plans had changed, if he'd misunderstood the situation, he'd be concentrating massive forces in the wrong place, wasting precious fuel, creating coordination nightmares, possibly causing friendly fire incidents with other Allied units. Worse, he was doing it based on intelligence he had no legal right to possess. That was a court-martial offense. Intercepting and acting on classified communications meant for other commanders violated multiple military regulations. But Patton had calculated the odds. He believed, first, that the intelligence was current and accurate. SHAF's operational plans made strategic sense given what was happening on the ground. Second, that speed mattered more than coordination. The Germans were trapped and panicking. Every hour of delay gave them time to escape or organize counterattacks. Third, that Bradley and Eisenhower would forgive the violation if it worked. They might shoot him out privately, but if his unauthorized advance led to victory, they couldn't punish him publicly. Fourth, and most cynically, that even if caught he could claim he was just showing initiative. Pure coincidence that his forces ended up exactly where Schaeff wanted them. Just good tactical instincts. His staff was terrified. They were all complicit in using intelligence they weren't supposed to have. If this went wrong, careers would be destroyed, lives ruined, possible criminal charges, but Patton was calm, almost serene. He understood something his frightened staff didn't. In war, success forgives everything. Failure condemns everything. The question wasn't whether he had permission. The question was whether he would win. Third Army units began advancing at a pace that shocked everyone, including the Germans. Within 24 hours, American armor had reached positions that Bradley's staff didn't expect them to reach for days. Towns marked as objectives for August 14th were captured on August 12th. Bradley's headquarters noticed immediately. Phone calls started coming in. "Why is Third Army so far forward? Did we miss an order? What's going on?" Patton's response was a masterpiece of evasion. "I saw an opportunity to exploit weak German resistance. I assumed that's what you wanted. Should I halt?" Bradley was in an impossible bind. Patton had done exactly what the larger operational plan required, just faster, without authorization. Telling him to halt now would waste the advantage he'd gained. But Bradley also realized what had happened. Patton had somehow learned about operational plans meant only for Army Group commanders. He'd acted on intelligence he had no business possessing. The conversation was reportedly tense but brief. Bradley, over the radio. "George, how did you know to advance toward Argentan?" Patton, I didn't know anything. I just attacked toward the sound of guns. Good tactics, Omar. Bradley, don't give me that. You knew exactly where you were supposed to be. Patton, if I happen to be where you want me, that's good generalship, not insubordination. Bradley had to make a choice. He could recall Patton, launch an investigation into how Third Army obtained unauthorized intelligence, possibly court-martial people. Or he could accept that Patton had once again achieved results through highly questionable means. He chose pragmatism. Fine. You're there now. Hold those positions and wait for British forces to close from the north. Patton had won. Again, the incident created lasting controversy about Patton's methods and the entire command structure. Eisenhower learned about it through Bradley. His reaction was reportedly mixed. Frustration and grudging admiration fighting for control. Patton had violated protocol, broken rules, possibly broken laws. But he'd also accelerated the encirclement of German forces in the Falaise pocket. Thousands of enemy soldiers who might have escaped were now trapped. The incident raised uncomfortable questions at SHAF. If commanders could intercept and act on orders meant for others, how could headquarters maintain operational control? How could they coordinate complex multinational operations if subordinate commanders just did whatever they wanted? Some staff officers argued for stricter communication security. Encrypt even interallied transmissions so thoroughly that only intended recipients could read them. Others argued that Patton should be formally reprimanded, that allowing this behavior encouraged other commanders to ignore the chain of command. Eisenhower ultimately did neither. He couldn't afford to hamstring communications between headquarters. And he couldn't afford to sideline Patton, who was winning battles faster than anyone else. Instead, he had a private conversation with Patton. The exact words weren't recorded, but the message was clear. I'm grateful for the results. Don't do it again. And if you do it again, make damn sure it works. Patton apparently replied something like, Ike, I'll always do whatever wins battles. If that means occasionally reading messages I'm not supposed to read, so be it. Court-martial me after we win the war. It was quintessential Patton. Acknowledging no real regret while making it crystal clear he'd do the exact same thing again if circumstances required it. This wasn't an isolated incident. Throughout the European campaign, Patton repeatedly acted on intelligence or orders he wasn't officially supposed to have. Sometimes he intercepted radio traffic. Sometimes he had conversations with officers from other commands who mentioned plans in confidence. Sometimes he simply made educated guesses about what SHAF was planning and acted as if those plans were already approved. His philosophy never changed. Better to act decisively on incomplete authorization than wait for perfect permission and lose the opportunity. This drove his superiors absolutely crazy. Bradley spent enormous energy trying to keep Patton on a leash. Eisenhower had to constantly balance Patton's results against the chaos his methods created. But they couldn't deny the effectiveness. Third Army advanced faster, captured more territory, and destroyed more German forces than any comparable Allied formation. Part of that was Patton's aggressive leadership, his willingness to push hard when others would pause. But part of it was his willingness to act on information and opportunities that other commanders would wait to have officially authorized. Modern military analysts debate whether Patton's approach was brilliant improvisation or dangerous insubordination. The truth is probably both. In Patton's defense, warfare at that scale and speed required initiative. Waiting for orders to filter through proper channels often meant missing opportunities. The German army was collapsing. Every hour mattered. Speed and aggression mattered more than perfect coordination. Against Patton, his methods created real risks. Friendly fire incidents, logistical chaos. Units advancing into areas where other Allied forces expected to operate. These weren't theoretical problems. They actually happened. People actually died because of coordination failures. When that signals officer told Patton, "You're not cleared for this," he was technically correct. Patton wasn't supposed to see that order, wasn't supposed to act on it, was supposed to wait for proper authorization through the chain of command. Patton's response, "I didn't hear that," perfectly captured his approach to military command. Rules were guidelines, permission was optional. What mattered was winning. History suggests Patton was right more often than he was wrong. His unauthorized advances, his creative misunderstandings of orders, his convenient interceptions of intelligence, they produced results. Third Army's record speaks for itself. But his methods also reveal exactly why military organizations need structure and discipline. If every commander operated like Patton, wars would devolve into complete chaos. Coordination would be impossible. The casualties from friendly fire and logistical failures would be catastrophic. Patton could get away with it because he was Patton. Brilliant, experienced, and lucky enough that his gambles usually paid off. Lesser commanders trying the same tactics would likely cause disasters. The lesson: exceptional circumstances sometimes require exceptional measures. But only exceptional leaders can get away with it. If you enjoyed this look at Patton's questionable command methods, hit that like button and subscribe. Drop a comment. What other controversial military decisions should I explore? Thanks for watching. Remember, breaking the rules is only brilliant if it works. Otherwise, it's just insubordination.